All right, everybody, how's it going? Uh, Interesting thing. I wasn't going to do a video on this, but it just kind of caught my imagination, and so here it goes. Received a message from a woman on the channel, and I want to welcome all women to come on the channel and take part, and because originally this was not supposed to be just for men. It was supposed to be for both men and women equally, because I do want to reach women. I think there's a lot of need there to reach women. There's a lot of ignorance on the part of women in terms of how men function. Women have this arrogance about them where of course they were privileged in their virtues and in their correctness and in their knowledge, so they don't think they have anything to learn. And we know better than that, don't we? Men are very interested in how women function. Women are not interested in how men function, because I think innately women feel that they're superior to men in every way. They're just a higher being than men, and a lot of the problems stem from that misconception and that arrogance and that self-deception about men. And again, it's to exalt women and to elevate them above men. So this woman writes me. She says, I am a woman watching out of curiosity. So she stumbled onto this site, and she says, let me be the first by saying this is some paranoid bullshit. Paranoid bullshit. So right off the bat, whatever men have a conviction about has got to be bullshit. You know, she has no conception about how men function, so it's got to be bullshit. Okay? You talk about exposing women. Ugh, like we're mastering some elaborate conspiracy. Well, you're not masterminding any conspiracy, because a conspiracy by definition is a collective. It's a group of individuals with the same goals, and you're not a collective. You're not even consciously doing anything. It is ingrained. It is innate. It is instinctual. It is female nature. It is the way you function, and therefore I'm not surprised that you cannot see yourself in exactly what you're doing. So all of a sudden a mirror is held up in front of you, and you go, whoa, do I really look like that? You know, it's like, if you know, when you've never seen yourself before. Let's pretend hypothetically one has never seen what one looks like, or hasn't seen oneself for a long period of time, and all of a sudden somebody just puts a mirror up in front of you. You know, you almost scares you. And I understand that women are too threatened, and they're too even shamed to acknowledge who they really are. And especially if they're as image conscious as women are, as deceptive as women are, and as ashamed of their own personalities and their own nature, that anybody that speaks out on and is aware or claims to be aware of female nature is immediately denied, and whatever the information may be, women immediately distance themselves and disassociate themselves with that information and with that imagery. Even if it's absolutely factual, they will deny the factuality of the information, because they, you know, their response is, wow, there's some women like that, but not me. You know, I'm different. And you cannot generalize. Yes, you can generalize. Okay? because the whole purpose of research and analysis is a framework of predictable patterns, okay, which has a directionality. Everything can be thought of as directional, right? And what I keep talking about in a lot of my videos, and the message I'm trying to put forth, is that the directionality of males and females are basically 180 degrees. It's an opposite direction, and that's why we arrive at the incompatibility between males and females. And a lot of the things that take place, females just simply are unaware of, but even worse, I mean, ignorance is no crime, right? But if you flat out refuse to take yourself to the next level and to learn and to study and to become enlightened, then obviously you're denying something. You're in denial, or you're trying to deceive, and you're trying to be in hiding in terms of your true identity. Why? Because you're obviously on a direction that you don't want to be sabotaged or to be terminated, that particular direction and goal that you're pursuing, or you are simply ashamed of your biological imperatives and exactly what your intentions and your purposes are in life, and therefore what your actions are in pursuing those imperatives. So she goes on and she says, you talk about exposing women like we're masterminding some elaborate conspiracy. Well, the problem is it is not a conspiracy. It is primal. It is primal. And what I talk about on this channel and in any conversation that I have is I am a believer in nature, biology, and reality. Those three things. Everything I talk about are based on those three things. And we cannot go against nature, biology, or reality. And whenever we do so, we get into either self-deception or the deception of others around us in society and in our everyday functioning, and which causes, it's the root of all the problems, right? When we deny those three constructs. Honestly, it just sounds like you and most of your MGTOWs, men going their own way, have just had bad experiences with women. Okay, so literally there is, even on the YouTube MGTOW community, there's tens of thousands of MGTOWs, okay, and that's conservative. So we've all had bad experiences with women. I mean, she makes it sound like that's a coincidence. All right, and it gets worse than that. Maybe you have had bad patterns. So there's something wrong with us. All right, so we are defective. We are the defective male who brought this misery and this disillusionment with the female onto ourselves. Maybe you keep dating the wrong women. We keep dating the wrong women. Okay, so according to her, and I get this from basically any female that comments on the channel or who I speak to privately or whatever it may be, they immediately jump to the perception that MGTOW is a group of anomalies. It's a group of damaged, possibly pathological, possibly men who have run into bad luck, possibly men who have behavioral issues, mental issues, lack social skills, maybe are unattractive, untalented, and that's a group of, those are the men in MGTOW. It is definitely not of any fault to the woman, because even though there may be some bad women out there, but that's a very small percentage, and obviously most women are just like any woman who I speak to, which are unaccountable. They cannot be being made accountable. They cannot be blamed or at fault with anything. And what's wrong? What's exactly wrong with these men, right? Why do you keep dating the wrong women? Like women who continually end up with abusive partners. Okay, well, there's another fallacy. Well, you know, let me clear this up for you. There's very few men who are actually abusive to women. Okay, and that happens. There's abusive men and there's abusive women, but it's a very small percentage, especially in this day and age of gynocentrism. The penalties are just overwhelming for men to start being abusive toward women. And also, men really don't have the strength and the protection in society to get away with anything like that. But generally speaking, just in terms of nature, men, you know, what kind of a loser would go around abusing somebody who is, you know, has less strength, is weaker than they are? It's got to be an absolute loser that does that. So that's a total misconception. Again, it's to perpetuate the notion of woman as victim. A woman as victim is a very, very useful tool that women use and will continue to use. Again, part of female nature. So no, it is not that men find, you know, all these men, tens of thousands of men, and if you look at it globally, it's basically every man, right? It's basically every man. It's not just men who have discovered MGTOW on YouTube, okay? This is the story and the male suffering that is universal. It's universal, and it's at the hands of women. And of course, for women, it's the status quo, it's the modus operandi of their behavior, and they actually do not see themselves. They are incapable of perceiving their behavior. And that's why we're here. I mean, this is a group of men. MGTOW is not a group of freaks. It is just a group of very average men. It's men of all races. It's men of all countries. It's men of all ages, sizes.
It's 7:30.
Attractiveness level. It's men of wealth. It's men who don't have any money, and everything in between. It's just a very general cross-section of men. So if you come onto YouTube, if you're a female and you stumble onto YouTube, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find a true representation of healthy, functioning men. Mostly healthy, functioning men. Overwhelmingly. Okay? Now, if that is too threatening and too controversial and too shameful for you to acknowledge, wake up. Wake up. If you want to learn about male nature, this is the place. This is the place. So do not dismiss it. Men are not dismissible. And the only difference between men on in the MGTOW movement on YouTube is that these are men who have acquired the knowledge to speak up. These are men who have acquired the awareness, and these are men who have acquired the fortitude to actually face women head on and present to women their fallibility, their the negativity about female nature. And these are men who celebrate masculinity and celebrate male nature. Unfortunately, in society, especially at the present, more than ever, outside of the MGTOW movement, men don't have the knowledge, the awareness, and they don't have the courage to voice their opinions, to voice their fears, to voice their dislikes. But be assured that what you don't hear in the outside world, outside of YouTube, outside of MGTOW, is identical to what you hear in MGTOW. But we're the ones who have a voice, who have chosen to have a voice. You're probably just looking in the wrong places. Okay, so all these men, every one of us, have been looking in the wrong places. Now, where are these wrong places where bad women hang out? Like, I don't understand it. I mean, if you could point out where these wrong places are, then I guess we will put out the memo worldwide for men not to look in these wrong places, because everywhere else there's wonderful women, right? There's wonderful. So we might as well. I guess we're all looking. We have all looked and we found women in the wrong places, or maybe you just come from a subculture in which women like the ones you describe are more prevalent. My God, so there's a subculture somewhere that produces defective, dangerous, and destructive women against men. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We are dealing with two things when we talk about male and female nature. We are talking about the well-functioning, healthy male, and we are talking about the well-functioning, healthy female. And that's enough material there to deal with. We're not dealing with aberrations. We're not dealing with deviance. We're not dealing with pathology, okay? So a subculture of bad women and a subculture of stupid, faulty men doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Okay? All these men are healthy, functioning men, overwhelmingly. I'm not saying that there's no, a very small percentage who may have psychological problems, emotional problems, who may be deviant in some way. And yes, there's just as many women like that out there, but overwhelmingly here in MGTOW, outside of MGTOW, these are healthy, normal, average, a very accurate representation of a cross-section of men who were, are, or will be in association with healthy females. Okay? There's no aberration here, so get that out of your head. Okay? Women come on here and first they're shocked what they're hearing, and then they're simultaneously enlightened, okay? Again, it's not a place of deviance or damaged men. It's just that, you know what, you've never had real men who would face you and who would expose you and who would explain to you what male nature is and what female nature does when male and female nature interact. This is a normal interaction. Now, if you haven't noticed, if you're a female who has been in several relationships, or maybe even many relationships, we're not calling you names here or anything like that, and if you haven't noticed, it's because you didn't give a shit. And if you haven't noticed what you have what you have done to the males in your life, then you haven't been watching yourself. And if you give me a half an hour with you, I will point out your history, I will point out your behavior, and I will point out you exactly what destruction you have brought onto men in your life. And I will point out to you exactly how you have destroyed the relationships that you are in, just by ignorance, by arrogance, and your incapability of being immune to your own to your own scathing female nature, driven by what else? Your biology. Remember, I deal with nature, biology, and reality. And you denied yourself the perception and the acknowledgement of reality in your own life. She goes on and says, now, if you don't want a relationship with women, that's perfectly legitimate. So she's talking about the monks of MGTOWN who don't want a relationship with women. Well, let me tell you something. This is a sad case. It is not really... what do you mean legitimate? What do you mean legitimate? The sad truth is that MGTOW in most situations is true forced MGTOW. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that because these men have been burned, because these men have been hurt, because these men did not receive understanding, they did not receive loyalty, they did not receive emotional sincerity from women. These men were crushed, and these men may have been crushed over and over again. And these men, after they were emotionally crushed, became economically, financially crushed. So these men were taken down. So when you see men going monk, MGM, which is a term that I coined, it's a tragic situation, because in a lot of the cases, I think if these men are going to be honest, they're going to admit to you and admit to themselves that they're going monk out of necessity. They literally cannot face female nature. Now, again, men, even on YouTube, are in the thousands who have gone monk, and they cannot have any association with women, and they choose not to. Now, globally, they're in the millions, all right? And now that is a statement not on the men, that is a statement on the women, okay? And again, these are not aberrations of masculinity. or maleness. These are normal men. But these are men who have been through the grinder, who have been crushed on every level. And they say, I am not taking that risk ever again. Now, what were these men crushed by? They weren't crushed by other men, right? They were crushed by women. Who were they crushed by? Millions of sick, pathological women out there who are in a conspiracy? No, no. They were crushed by normal, functioning, what society would call healthy, average women. And there's one thing they had all in common, and that is their female nature. And that is tragic, and that is telling, and that is revealing something. So wake up, look at yourself, look at your life, analyze yourself, or talk to me. I will point it out in less than half an hour. I will go right through your life. I will go bang, 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 just like that. And you will be in tears. Yes, you will. And I don't have to make anything up. And the arrogance that women have, this sense of privilege, this sense of entitlement, this refusal for any accountability, becomes noticeable and undeniable immediately. All they have to do is write 3 sentences, write 1 sentence, and bang, you pick it up. You pick it out like that. So, if you don't want a relationship with women, that's perfectly legitimate. No! It sends a huge fucking statement. A huge fucking statement. And let me tell you, we're not talking 1 or 3 or 5 or even 252 men here. We're talking thousands. We're talking millions across the world. But if you feel as much disdain and resentment as I'm hearing from you, it's pretty fucked up to keep sleeping with them. Okay, so this woman has seen one of my videos, and she arrived at the belief that I have disdain and resentment for women. And I don't. I love women. Here she is. Her name is Googly3, and she's absolutely anonymous. I don't know why. You have made good points here, and I'm glad you brought this, all these misconceptions and these and this lack of understanding out in the open. I am not picking on you particularly, because you are definitely not alone. This is a representation of absolutely most women, almost overwhelmingly every woman that's out there. Oh yeah, there's some bad women, but they're not all the same, and I'm not one of those women. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Give me a few minutes, I'll point it out. I'll point it out. But you gotta be truthful, and you gotta, you cannot be reserved. You have to be transparent, and you have to be honest. All right? And, that goes right to my major point, which is all women are whores. Because that is how a female functions. That is how innately, primally, a female functions. We are animals here, just because we use toilet paper doesn't make us anything better than an animal. We are animals, and we function as animals. And within relationships, those animalistic, raw, primal traits really surface, really surface. But you have to be perceptive, and you have to look through, you have to go below the surface, not very far. Just skin deep, just below the skin, okay? You don't have to go very far. That's the interesting part of it. They're so blatant. Behavior is so blatant, male and female behavior, because we are animals and we function as animals. A lot of these things, it is shameful for women to acknowledge. I understand that, because that is not what their own image is of themselves, and it is not the image that they want to project to the rest of the world or their immediate environment or the people around them. They don't want that. Everything is in hiding. Like right here, she is anonymous. Now, why would you not show your pretty face? I want to see what you look like. Maybe you're very hot. And I love women. I love everything about women. I love their shape. I love to talk to them. I love to hold their hand and walk with them through a city the whole day. I love to romance them. I love to fulfill them on every level, more than any other man did in their past. I love closeness. I'm emotionally very open, and I'm very sincere with my emotions. So I love women. There's no disdain, and there's no hatred for women. I just happen to really know female nature. I know women more than women know women. And I'm not saying that. Every woman has told me that. And so therefore, and one woman who I spent 2 months intensively, very closely, 24 hours a day with, she told me that most women would not be able to take this. Right? Because I make them accountable. I make them accountable for their female nature. And it is ugly. And women themselves are unaware. Their mind is a chaos. They are unaware of what they're doing. They're unaware of what they're achieving and what damage they're bringing on to themselves, to the people around them, and to their partners. I'm not saying that men are not at fault either. Men are at fault, but they're not in fault of their character. Men are at fault for their lack of ability, their lack of masculinity, their lack of talent, and that's what they're not giving women. And then women, what do women have left? What women have left is just an inanimate, depersonalized individual, which then they can use and use up and discard. Women then, if women are not receiving what they want to receive from the male, they are all they have left is to use men as for their utility until they are no longer giving them that utility, or they're no longer useful. So if you feel so much disdain and resentment, I'm hearing from you, it's pretty fucked up to keep sleeping with them. Well, you're coming from the perspective of a woman. See, a man can't do that. Okay? Now this is something that you need to learn here. This is a message to, this whole video is a message to women. Okay? And it maybe will give them a little peek through the keyhole into male nature. You know, and you pretty well have to, you know, drag him kicking and screaming, and it's like pulling teeth with these women because they don't fucking want to accept it. They don't want to accept the fact that men are not at fault. most of the time men are not at fault, and they don't want to acknowledge that, right? They live in the female fantasy, which is an exaltation of women and a denigration of men. That's the female fantasy. That's normal. That is how everything is created. But the men of MGTOW, or any man in the world who has got knowledge, who has awareness, says, nay, 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 that is not reality. So you're coming from the female perspective, thinking that if a man hates a woman, has disdain for women, they're going to be able to sleep with them. No, men are incapable of doing that. That's what females do. Again, what is that a definition of? It's a definition of emotional insincerity, right? Emotional insincerity. And that is what women are very capable of. Men are not very capable of that. Men want to love women. Men want to serve women. Men want to make a huge positive impact on women. Men want to be loved. Men want to be cherished. All right? And men cannot do anything with women if they hate them. So you have just exposed not male nature, but female nature with that comment. You're coming from the perspective of a woman because you are a woman. And that's all you know. And that's why you don't notice female nature, because that's all you know. And that's how you react to stimuli. Every type of stimuli in the world, especially ones coming from men, you react in terms of your female nature. And so your assumption is that that I have disdain and resentment for women, but I still sleep with them. And then she says, are you manipulating them into sleeping with you by making them think that you actually like them? You are manipulating them into sleeping with you by making them think you actually like them. Again, that's a female characteristic. That's female behavior in every way. That's not male behavior. Thank you. Thank you for shedding some light here on female nature and confirming it. Okay? There's no manipulation going on. I truly love women. Now, a lot of MGTOW will say that they have nothing to do with women, but even they don't hate women. Depends on what you mean by hate, of course. They don't hold female nature in high regard. But again, it's what they've experienced. And it's what they've experienced overwhelmingly by so-called every woman out there. It's the every woman. It's not the sick or the bad women. It's every woman. That's what we're talking about. Again, we're not into dealing with bad people here. And it's not a conspiracy. If it was a conspiracy, it would be another channel dealing with conspiracies. Okay? Again, psychology doesn't deal with conspiracies. The psychology deals with human nature. All right? And usually, what they call normal human nature. It's the analysis of normal human nature that much of psychology deals with. And there's a lot of material there, as I said. You don't have to go into pathology to get interesting material. Because with pathology, there's always a explanation as to why people behave the way they do. They're sick, okay? It's much more interesting to analyze how well-functioning, well-socialized individuals function. Much more interesting and much more challenging to come to conclusions on that and to find patterns. And yes, to generalize, because that is the purpose of research and analysis, is generalization, so that you can predict behavior. The whole idea with MGTOW is for men to get the knowledge they need so that they can predict whatever future situation they get into women, at work or in relationships or in family situations. Knowledgeable men will detect immediately what the situation is and what the female behavior is, if they have enough knowledge. So, manipulating women to sleep with me. Again, I don't hide. Honesty is one of my main characteristics and what I pride myself on. Emotional honesty and honesty in every way. I like to be totally transparent because again, and this is not a male mode of behavior, it's a female mode of behavior, manipulation. A female lives by manipulation. All right? And again, we're getting back to what a whore is. A whore is a manipulator, and a whore is a faker. Okay? A whore fakes intimacy. A whore fakes emotion. A whore manipulates in trapping the male to getting something out of him. It could be an opportunity, it could be a contact, it could be his money, it even could be him making her feel better about herself, but is always a usage involved and a manipulation to get at what she wants to get out of him. That's a female way of behaving. That is female nature. What you describe here comes from you. It comes from your own understanding of your own nature. You understand nothing about male nature. So you figure, see, the huge problem that women make is they expect males to function as females. Females with male genitalia, okay? Even on dating sites and everything. You know, you read a female profile on any dating site and you come away thinking that, wow, you're looking for a girlfriend. You're not looking for a man. Because that's not a man, okay? You have to know what a man is before you get in a relationship with a man. And there's your mistake right there. You expect a man to not be a man, or only be a man the way you define a man, and to the point, to the extent, to the magnitude that you allow that man to function whenever you decide that he is permitted to be a man. But that's not a real man. Manipulating women to sleep with me. I've never had a one-night stand in my life. I have long-term, deep, emotional, romantic, trusting relationships. That's what I do. That's what every healthy man, real man, does. Now, there's more points to that, but we won't get into that in this video. It would take too long. So forget about manipulation. Forget about disdain and resentment. The disdain and resentment is not against any particular woman personally. In fact, I find them fascinating. In fact, I take a lot of interest in them. I take a lot of interest in their hearts, in their minds, in their emotional makeup. I help them. I change their lives. I put an effect on their lives which stays with them indefinitely. I make a real mark on women because I care about them so much. But the disdain and the resentment comes from knowing female nature and watching a woman instinctively operate and how they instinctively do operate and being able to predict it. And being very cautious and prevent and to protect yourself, being able to self-protect through knowing in advance what the nature of women is and detecting their behavior in advance. Maybe MGM, men going monk, is the right choice for men who hate women. I can tell you right now, I am not a monk. Absolutely the opposite of that. But I can tell you that the monks of MGTOW do not hate women. As I explained just a few minutes ago, they are forced into being monks. They literally are unable, they feel that they're unable and it is highly risky for them to have any association with women. Women are caustic. Women are poisonous. And they fear that before long they're going to experience what they have experienced in their past over and over again with any woman they got into a relationship with. And again, these are not freaks. These are not sideshow freaks, okay? That every woman kicked in the head, kicked in the gut. And the women that they found were not freaks. These are just normal, regular men meeting normal, regular women, and the results can be, and often are, devastating. Anyway, as a woman who doesn't know you or want anything from you or have anything to gain from this, I just want to let you know there is no conspiracy. Nobody ever said that there was. I don't know if anybody in MGTOW or outside YouTube thinks that there is a female conspiracy against men. There isn't. It's just female nature. That's all. That's all. You're born with it. Congratulations. You know, and as a woman who doesn't know you, of course you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. Or want, but I know even less about you, don't I? Yes. See? I'm exposed. I'm exposed. I'll even take my shirt off for you. Okay? Nothing to hide here. Nothing to be ashamed of. Okay? I don't like it when people are anonymous. It sends a message that they are cowards. It sends a message that they're hiding. And it sends a message that they're ashamed of what they're saying. And that if they were to reveal themselves, they would never say what they say as being anonymous. And that's sad. I mean, I say exactly what I would if you didn't see my face, or if you do see my face. I'm particularly proud of that. Because I am very emotionally attached to what my views are and what I'm saying. I am passionate about it. I say it with conviction. It's the only way that I can operate. And a woman who doesn't know you or want anything from you, well, don't be so sure, okay? Don't be so sure, because a lot of what women are suffering from in defense of women now is that where men fall short is their ability to what they are able able to and willing to give to women. And that's not one of my faults. That's not one of my shortcomings. Okay? And a real man is a man who is able to give a lot to women. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't put high demands on women as well. Okay? Only a coward, only a mangina, only a simp will not put demands on women. I put a lot of demands on women. But I give them a lot too. And where men fall short is that they don't get fulfillment for what they can give to women. See that you're looking at men, a lot of these men, and especially the false narrative of MGTOW, and where MGTOW steered them wrong is that they say give nothing to women, and I say the opposite. Give it to them, but expect the same in return. Expect emotional sincerity, and expect to be served by women just as much as you serve them. And I think a man has to really get off sexually, emotionally, intellectually. Has to really get off on seeing what they can do to a woman, what effect, what stimulus they can have on a woman, and what they can bring out of a woman. Because every woman needs to be developed, but it only takes a great man to develop a woman. And unfortunately, most men are not able to do that. They're not able to develop. They're not able to develop a woman. And so a woman is left wanting. A woman is left high and dry. A woman is left unsatisfied. And that's when women will treat men as objects. And yes, this is the way how women treat men as objects. Because there's nothing else that they're receiving from the male. So chances are you've never had a real man in your life. Never. Chances are you've never experienced sexuality at its utmost. You've never been developed sexually. You're an incomplete woman. So don't ever say that you're a woman who wants nothing from me. You'd be surprised. Yes, nobody said there's a conspiracy. You absolutely read that wrong. You got confused, and you misinterpreted the whole message. Plenty of women are awful people. Okay, but not you, right? Yeah, not you. But so are plenty of men. No. I don't even say that women are awful people. It's just female nature. And same with men. It's male nature. And most men are incapable. Most men are not real men. I will get into that in a future video as to the two types of men out there. And she goes on and says, maybe society conditions us to be awful in different ways. Yeah, you're getting close there. Society conditions us to be awful, but it's not society. Society just amplifies and empowers. Awful? Awful in what way? In your nature, right? In female nature. You are already awful in female nature. Society only empowers you for it. All right? and treats it not as shameful, but treats it as noble. Unfortunately, the sick society, the degenerate society that we live in. So it's not society that creates your female nature. Female nature is immutable. It has no boundaries. It has no time limitations in history. Women were like today's women thousands of years ago. Okay, different societies only impede and control and suppress female nature more than others. But indirectly, even in Islam, if you want to use that example, be sure of it, and people from that part of the world or with that religion or ideology will confirm, men will confirm, that female nature undoubtedly still comes through. But it sneaks through different areas wherever it can, even if it's not direct. It comes out indirectly from behind, and it basically has the same effect on men universally, even though it may take a slightly different route, is what I'm trying to say. But most of us are honest, just trying to be good people, just like most of you. Okay, well, you got that right. But our natures are diametrically opposed. That's the problem, diametrically opposed. And if you have been in any long-term relationship, with a lot of women haven't, especially these days, you know, where relationships are so hard to maintain, and there's so much pressure against them. You know, there's a lot of naivete, there I pronounced it right, naivete on both sides, because there hasn't been any long-term sustained relationship experience on both sides. And so a lot of the information is inaccurate. It is short-term hookups and failures and, you know, everything imbued with insincerity, and it's not the real deal. But if you get into actual long-term relationships, you will have a pretty good knowledge, and you will sound cynical, because you're gonna be acting on what reality is and not inexperience. I don't want. Okay, so here's an interesting ending to this whole message that she wrote. I don't want anything from a man I'm dating other than love, sex, honesty, and a good friend. Well, wouldn't that be too easy? Now this is a very interesting statement. I don't even know where to start with this. I mean, it's so encompassing. It's so overwhelming. It's got so many areas that one could comment on this and analyze, but I'm going to read it again. I don't want anything from a man I'm dating other than love, sex, honesty, and a good friend. Well, to achieve this for any woman is a tall order. It's almost unachievable. And you make it sound like it's so easy. I think this is your wish, and there's nothing wrong with this being your wish. I mean, truthfully, this is everybody's wish. This is my wish. This is your wish. Love, sex, honesty, and a good friend. Okay? But it is very hard, very difficult to achieve. and especially all of them at the same time, because for different reasons on either side, male and female, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now. But what I'm going to say is, trust me on this, you want a lot more than the 4 things that you outlined. Okay? You want a lot more. Okay? Because one of the reasons you cannot achieve these 4 things, you cannot give and you cannot gain from a male, you cannot give to a male or gain from a male these 4 things, is because you want other more difficult things along with these things. And those are the things that you do not receive. Now, in terms of and so both men and women are either or. They're incapable of or unwilling to provide love, great sex, honesty, and being a good friend. Being a good friend means that emotionally, being able to express your emotions freely. These 4 things are very hard for either gender to offer. Then she goes on and says, I never get men to pay for me, and if they do, I always pay them back. Well, it depends on the circumstance that you're in, right? I mean, I'm sure if you go out on a few dates, I'm sure that you don't want to you know, be at the service of men and expect them to pay for you. But in a different circumstance, you may demand differently. In a longer relationship, or when you become more demanding of the man, you become more entitled, you're feeling more entitled with that man, you will act very differently than your initial association with that man. Don't judge us women because you've been hanging around shitty, manipulative people. That's her ending. Again, women don't want to be judged. They don't want to be judged, and that's a huge topic on its own. Women are very afraid to be judged because once they're judged, they're exposed, and once they're exposed, they have to be accountable. Accountability, responsibility, and once that comes, shame comes. There's no guilt. There's no guilt. Guilt to a woman is like water on the feathers of a duck. It just rolls off. It's meaningless. Men really respond to guilt. Of course, we are guilt-ridden. Healthy men, of course, not sociopaths. But healthy women don't respond to guilt. They do respond to shame, and judging hits right at a woman's self-esteem. And again, as I mentioned before, a woman with low self-esteem is a very dangerous creature. It's a creature which will do a lot of damage to a man who is loving, a man who is honest, and a man who is emotionally giving, expressive emotionally. A woman with low self-esteem will create a lot of dirt. She is attracted and vulnerability to create dirt. Proclivity, that's the word I was looking for, a real proclivity for making herself dirty, and for really hurting her partner in the process. A lot of it has to do with aggression. So again, you use the word judge, which is a key word in the female vocabulary. Judging, even these gyms who are catering to women. Everybody in society is catering to women, from politicians to fitness gyms to the whole retail sector. Everywhere, every industry is catering to women, and one of the main ways of pandering to women is to let them know that the notion of judging has been eliminated. Don't worry, no judging here. Judging has been outlawed. And as I mentioned in one of my videos, men, MGTOWs, and men in general everywhere have to become proactive, and they have to judge. They have to judge women. Don't be afraid of women. Don't be a wimp. Don't be a fucking lame ass. You have to judge women, because that is how women learn, and that is how women learn who they are. Because this woman, and again, I'm not picking on you, you are not an aberration. You're just like any other woman, okay? You haven't done anything out of the ordinary here with this message. You really haven't. You're not pathological, you're not a bad person, but you're behaving like the quintessential woman. Women need to be judged, because women need to be developed, and there's a lot of undeveloped women in terms of their character, in terms of their personality, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their female nature. And the only way we're ever going to get anywhere with women is if women control their own female nature. If women become ashamed of themselves, and if they become aware of their own female nature to the point where they are ashamed of it, and to the point where they are going to curtail and to control their own female nature. That is the only hope for improving women, because women all have to be developed. Women are not born the same way in terms of their character as men are. And literally, female nature is a very vicious pattern. And as much as anything, women are victims, not of men, but they're victims of their own. You know what I'm going to say, aren't you? Don't you? Of their own, the victims of their own female nature. And they have to be made aware of that. They have to be made ashamed of that, because that is the only way that they are going to change themselves. Women are victims of their own female nature. Thanks for watching.